Hello and welcome back for day 3. That's right, day 3 of our new series called The Basics. Now, on the first day, on day 1, we talked about how can I be saved, and on day 2, how can I stop myself from backsliding? How can I keep from backsliding into sin? If you didn't watch those, please watch them. Day 3's topic is kind of along the same line as day 2's. It's called How Can I Live My Faith? How can I live my faith? Because most people say, I love the Lord. How can I live for the Lord now? I don't know how that works, and I don't know how to do it. So I've got some scriptures to help you today. The first one's out of Romans chapter 12, verses 1 and 2. So let's read together. It says, this is Paul writing, I beseech you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of God, that you present your bodies a living sacrifice, wholly acceptable to God, which is your reasonable service. And do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, that you may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of God. So basically, Paul here is telling them, he's pleading with them, listen, you Roman people. Now, Roman people were known to be a little bit, let's say, worldly. You know, they did a lot of the things our modern culture now does. Like, we're just repeating the past here with sexual sin and all that kind of stuff. And they were idolatrous people, and they believed weird things and had weird traditions. And they didn't live after the one true God. And Paul here is basically making this point. Rather than bring God gold and silver or animal sacrifices and all these things that are dead, that don't have any life in them, he says, I beseech you, brethren, to present yourselves as a living sacrifice unto God, wholly acceptable. So, and then he says, that's your reasonable service. Why is it reasonable to ask that of you? Because God has saved you, right? So Paul says, live a holy life, an acceptable life unto God. Be a living sacrifice. Like, have life in you, this new life that God's given you. Let it come out of you and infect everybody else around you. And then he goes on to say, don't be conformed to the world. Don't be like the world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. So what does that mean? That means when we were living in sin, we had one way of thinking and one way of living. It was all about ourselves. It was all about whatever's pleasing to us. And now we have this new life, this new way of thinking, and now we need to be pleasing to God. So the things that we used to chase after, money, fame, women, lust, power, greed, those are the things we don't chase after now. Now we chase after mercy and servanthood and blessing other people and caring for other people and sacrificing our needs in place of somebody else's needs. So we give things when we may need them, but we give them away. And so Paul's basically saying, present your bodies as a living sacrifice. Now, like that, when Paul wrote to the Corinthian church in 1 Corinthians 6, verses 19 through 20, this is what he says to them. Now, this is after he chastises them for their sin, primarily sexual sin. He says, or do you not know that your body is the temple of the Holy Spirit who's in you, whom you have from God, and you are not your own, for you were bought at a price. Therefore, glorify God in your body and in your spirit, which are God's. He says, do you not know that you don't belong to you anymore? I want you to hear me, young Christian people. You do not belong to you. You belong to God. And why? You were bought at a price. What was the price? The price was Jesus on the cross for you. So I want you to hear me. You're not your own. You belong to God now, and thank him for that. And right here, Paul says, your body is the temple of the Holy Spirit. Man, glorify God in your body and in your spirit, not just in your spirit. Like, it's not enough to say, I love God in my heart, but I live like the world with my body. No, he says, bring God glory in your spirit, but also in your body, in your physical self. So only go places he'd have you go, only do things he'd have you do, only be around who he'd have you be around. This is all I have for this third day of our series called The Basics. If you need help living out your Christian life, look me up, call me, message me on Instagram or Facebook or YouTube, and I'll be happy to reach back out to you and talk you through some things. Don't forget to come back and see us tomorrow for day 4 of this series. God bless.
Subscribe for more.